Thank you for joining us for this live stream event. This year's Ellie's Place Healing Heart Society virtual breakfast. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy these stories of hope as we try to raise awareness and support for grieving children and their families.
Good morning and welcome to the Ellie's Place Greater Flint and Genesee County Healing Heart Society breakfast. I'm President and CEO Dan Lehman. I certainly wish we could be with all of you in person today, and I hope you are staying safe and healthy. Through this pandemic, Ellie's Place has carried forth our mission with great urgency and creativity to ensure the ongoing support of grieving children and teens in Flint and beyond. Connection is so important in a time we all feel isolated. The grief children feel today is more intense than ever. We knew we had to continue to create connections despite this virus. This is the core of Ellie's Place and the impetus for us developing virtual support in new ways using phone, social media, and video conferencing. Our participants joining us through Zoom support groups often share how comforting it is to see familiar faces again and feel that group connection. 1 in 13 children in our state face the death of a parent or sibling. The pandemic, as experienced in Flint and surrounding communities, dramatically increases this number. Thousands of Flint children potentially face the burden of grieving alone. More than ever, we need the compassionate services of Ellie's Place, and this morning, we will share with you the difference we are making right now. While the pandemic has changed many things, kind voice, a caring presence of a grieving peer makes all the difference for a child feeling afraid and alone. Thank you so much for tuning in to our program this morning. You, our community, are the heart of our work and make our mission possible. All funds raised this morning will go directly to helping children in Flint and Greater Genesee County find hope and healing today and into the future. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for your gift of time. I'm Andy Cruz. I'm the Director for Community Benefit for the Ascension, Michigan market. And while my work covers the entire Michigan market, my wife Jody and I have called Grand Blanc home for the past 30 years. A big part of my role is to help our hospitals complete and conduct their triannual community health needs assessment. In Genesee County, it's no different. We work with our partners McLaren Flint, Hurley Medical Center, the Genesee County Health Department, and the Greater Flint Health Coalition to not only conduct the community health needs assessment, but also to identify unmet community needs. And I don't have to tell all of you that Flint and Genesee County has its fair share of unmet needs. About 7 years ago, Jim Bappert, a longtime fellow board member, as well as an Ellie's Place supporter extraordinaire, visited my office, and he was advocating for bringing a branch of Ellie's Place to Flint and Genesee County. Now, I knew Jim. We lived in the same neighborhood. Our kids went to school in the same school district. But I also knew that Jim lost his wife suddenly and unexpectedly. What I didn't know was the amount of support Jim and his boys received from Ellie's Place during this tragedy, despite having to make a weekly drive to Lansing to receive the services. As I mentioned previously, Flint and Genesee County has a myriad of community health challenges. Our health behaviors, the environment we live in, along with social issues, have significant negative impact on our health as well as community health. Unfortunately, this contributes to premature illness, disease, and death that unfortunately our children are often exposed to and families left to deal with loss and grief. Fortunately, the good news, Jim Bappert, along with the support of many, were able to open an Ellie's Place Greater Flint nearly 6 years ago. Ellie's Place and the services they provide make an impact on these serious community health issues that also result in grief-related consequences, including violence and substance abuse, safe and healthy environments, not to mention the serious consequences COVID-19 has had on our community, our state, nation, and quite frankly, the world. Personally, I've been a board member since its inception 6 years ago. And while my family has not had to use the services of Ellie's Place, both my wife, an educator of 30 years, as well as myself, understand and see the need Ellie's Place has as a valued asset in our community. That's why we're members of the Healing Hearts Society. So in closing, I would encourage you to learn more about Ellie's Place, the programs and services they have to offer, and more importantly, to consider donating your time, your talents, and treasures to Ellie's Place, Greater Flint. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Payton Lester. I'm the Program Director for Ellie's Place, Greater Flint and Genesee County. It has been my pleasure to serve children, teens, and their families. While we are currently in uncertain times, Ellie's Place is dedicated to providing support to grieving families. We are hosting virtual groups and will begin virtual school groups later this month. Additionally, we are taking new family calls, providing resources to families and community partners. We realize families need more support now than ever. We know grieving children often feel alone, keep their feelings inside, and do not want to burden other family members. At Ellie's Place, we offer a safe space where all feelings are okay as children grieve and begin to heal. Families come to us often at the worst time of their lives. I would like to take a minute to share a family's mission moment of healing. A teenager and her mother came to Ellie's Place after the death of her father and younger brother, who died tragically in a car accident. The teenager had received support from her teachers, church, and also went to individual therapy with her mother. Despite all the support the family received, this teenager and her mother had grown apart. Her mother had concerns about her behavior, anger, and not grieving appropriately. Once the teenager joined our high school group, she was able to make connections with her same-age peers and realized she was not the only teenager who had experienced a death. She was able to discuss her feelings without judgment. These connections, safe space, and the support given to her by her facilitators, she was able to explore her feelings as she traveled through her grief journey. Her mother also joined our Spouse Partner Loss group, where she joined other adults that were parenting and supporting grieving children. In her group, she was able to learn how teenagers grieve and connect with others who had experienced the loss of a spouse or a partner. While in separate groups, healing was occurring and staff was able to see a dynamic change. The night the family closed, they shared this note with us. As we leave Ellie's Place, we thank all the staff. After our first visit, I did not think this program was going to work for me and my daughter. As she said, she would attend, but she would not talk. She felt like I was making her come. The initial car rides from Ellie's Place were quiet and cold. Our relationship was more distant than ever. After a few times of coming to Ellie's Place, the car rides got easier and became our uninterrupted time together. We shared our memories and thoughts. We began to look forward to our special time together. Family nights were the best because it forced us to work together, talk about our family, our losses, our hopes, and our dreams for the future. This is something I do not think we would have ever done. We both learned how to express ourselves and gain lasting friendships with wonderful families. Although we have experienced such a tragic loss that has changed us forever, we walk away from Ellie's Place with a toolbox full of tools to help us travel through life, and most importantly, me and my daughter are traveling together. Thank you so much for such a wonderful program that has helped our family tremendously. It warms my heart to reflect on a family we were able to walk with on their grief journey. Now I'd like to introduce you to the Jakubik family.
The year 2008 was very hard for me. It was the year that my 3-year-old sister Phoebe passed away. She drowned in a freak accident at our neighborhood pool in August. When I got the news that she had died, I kept asking, why did this have to happen to me?
I was away with some girlfriends, and Matt was here with Luke, who was 6 at the time, and Mia was 5, and then Phoebe was 3.
Me and the kids had spent the day at the pool. We were actually getting ready to leave. And then the next thing I knew, people were yelling, get her out of the water. I turned and wasn't sure, I didn't know it was her. And then when I saw it was her, obviously just panic sets in.
I just remember looking around at all the kids and I'm like, I don't see Phoebe, my little sister.
Everyone was just telling us to stand back, and I don't know, she wasn't responding.
And we went to the hospital, and she was pronounced dead when we got to the hospital.
There was a lot of, crying, just lots and lots of questions. How could this happen? What are we gonna do now? How can we go on?
Ellie was born on May 9th, and her given name was Helen Louise Snow Stover. She had something called desquamative interstitial pneumonia, which is a lung disease, so she couldn't breathe, and then she failed to thrive. We went to Mayo Clinic, we went to Ann Arbor, we went back and forth to Sparrow Hospital, and she was tenacious in her will to live, but eventually, after 4 months in the peds ICU, she died.
Every parent has a sense that there is a need that needs to be addressed. Betsy had a sense of the right thing to do and what was needed early on. I mean, our kids had their own issues, their own challenges. We had to properly focus on that as best as possible.
Their grief was different than ours, and they were grieving in pieces. More aggression, more sadness, more withdrawing, and we knew we needed to do something for them before Woody and I had some support.
Ellie's Place has been around for 25 years, and it started with humble beginnings here in Lansing with a handful of volunteers and a few families in the basement of a church. Since then, we've grown to 4 communities across the state: Grand Rapids, Lansing, Flint, and Ann Arbor. And we've supported, in that time, nearly 25,000 individuals.
I remember not really knowing what to expect. It was kind of cool to see that other people that had gone through the same thing, because at the time I didn't know anybody else that had experienced anything like we had.
After the first time, I thought this could be all right, and then I just wanted to go back every week just to talk about my feelings. You all pretty much have something in common, so it's easier to talk.
They would be so excited to go and to talk to the friends that they had met there that are also going through something very similar that they had gone through.
When a child goes to school, they can't talk about mom or dad dying. So we create that space for them to be able to do that. What happens in group stays in group. And we take that very seriously at Ellie's Place. By developing that code of safety, they build trust and feel comfortable in sharing whatever it might be.
Downtown Plymouth has a little walk of memory trees, and they do it every year. And we ask families and friends to write just something that they remember about Phoebe or they missed about Phoebe on little notes, and then we attached them to pictures and we hung them on the tree.
Again, we're all here on this earth for a reason, and certainly Ellie Stover was here to help other children. Without Ellie's death, Ellie's Place wouldn't be here.
It made me very proud of my mom and dad and, of the incredible legacy that an 11-month life has had on so many people. Yeah.
But Ellie's Place is a journey to joy. For some, it's a really long walk.
This was a high school essay in his 10th grade composition class, and most of it was all about Ellie's Place and how much it meant to him that he was able to go there and still be okay after the death of this, beautiful little sister of his.
After going through this entire experience, I learned many things about myself. I learned that when it comes to death, I can really handle my emotions. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about Phoebe. She holds a special place in my heart. We all fought really hard to overcome the grief of losing Phoebe and succeeded. All in all, death is very, very hard, but if you get help to overcome your grief, you can go on with the rest of your life.
Thank you, Jakubik family, for sharing your story. Good morning. My name is Ed Fletcher. I'm extremely proud to serve as a community board member for Ellie's Place, Greater Flint in Genesee County. My professional life is spent in real estate, helping people buy and sell homes. I'm often asked, why Ellie's Place? Well, there are many reasons. Most importantly, I've seen the impact Ellie's Place has on the community. I also feel a responsibility to give back and help where I can. Serving as a community board member affords me this opportunity. Ellie's Place is a nonprofit community-based organization dedicated to creating awareness of and support for grieving children and their families. The vision of Ellie's Place is to ensure no child in Michigan grieves alone. Ellie's Place was founded in 1991 by a group of mental health professionals, concerned community volunteers, and grieving parents, Betsy and Woody Stover. Following the death of their daughter, Helen Louise Snow Stover, also known as Ellie, at 11 months old, the Stovers saw that their 3 children, ages 3 through 7, were grieving the death of their sister, but not in the same way they were as adults. Following a great deal of research of other children's grief centers across the country, it was determined that peer support for the grieving Stover children, as well as kids and teens who had experienced the death of someone close to them, was the best way to learn to cope with their feelings of grief, sadness, anger, and loss. Nearly 30 years later, following humble beginnings in the basement of a church, Ellie's Place now serves 4 communities and seeks to serve even more grieving children and their families as we continue to forward our mission. Like many of the stories you have heard, I too dealt with loss at an early age. At that time, there were no grief services for children and families. We lost our father tragically and suddenly when I was just 16 years old. This left my mom, who didn't work outside the home, with 5 children between the ages of 4 and 18. The void was felt immediately and left so many unanswered questions about the future of our family. There were times of emotional struggle, self-isolation, not knowing how to fully comprehend the loss or how to express our grief. There were learning challenges, suppressing feelings, and overwhelming sadness. We eventually found a new normal and successfully overcame the difficulties. But we all could have benefited from a healing center like Ellie's Place. As leaders in our community, please consider Ellie's Place as a valuable resource for your friends, colleagues, family, and neighbors who have experienced the death of a loved one, and for the people you serve professionally. Whether they are patients, students, members, or customers, to find the support they need to relieve their grief and move forward in a healthy and productive way. I'm asking for your help to make a difference in the lives of grieving children and teens. Now that you've heard directly from our families and you fully understand the impact of our programs, which are at no cost to our families, it's my privilege to ask you to make a financial investment in our ongoing ability to serve grieving children and teens in our community. What Ellie's Place needs most, and what we want to request from you today, is financial support for our current programs that support grieving children today and tomorrow. It costs Ellie's Place approximately $600 per child a year. Now, there are several ways to give, and here are some points to consider when thinking of a contribution. Some choose a one-time gift, which is always welcomed and appreciated. There is also the Healing Hearts Society, which is $1,000 or more commitment for 3 years. And finally, you can have HEART for a grieving child. HEART stands for Healing, Electronic, and Recurring Transaction, which is a monthly contribution of any size that is automatically charged to your credit card. Whatever gift you have chosen to make today, whether monetary or the gift of your valuable time, we sincerely thank you on behalf of the children and families we support. Please know your generous gift will make a difference in the lives of children who have experienced the loss of a loved one. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Ellie's Place Healing Heart Society virtual breakfast. For more information on how you can help, please visit elliesplace.org.